Well, look, here we are again.
Yeah, we're back. Episode 2 of Under the Hoodie.
We have not been canceled. We have not been pulled off the air due to any number of things we might have said in the first episode.
Or it could just be no one actually saw the first podcast, and
Also possible.
also a possibility.
I hear. How you doing?
Man, not too bad. Not too bad. I've been just enthralled with what's happening in the tech world the last few days. I don't know if you saw that the T app, which was I don't know if you know familiar with the T app is. He is basically a social dating site, but where women get to vet the men first.
Okay.
So women they have to verify who they are. So they send a picture of their driver's license to T beforehand, and then they get some access to vet the men, right? But as part of their user agreement, T said, hey, they would take a look at it, verify it in person, and then we delete all your information, right? We don't want to start a driver's license or anything anywhere.
Right.
Unfortunately, that is not what happened. And then T, whether it was vibe coded or not, they left their database unsecured, open to the entire world. So someone had just happened to be checking it out, found that they could get all these women's driver's license. So I think they leaked 15,000 or 50,000 women's driver's license across the U.S. So now people are going and mapping all these ladies online, and it's a huge, huge, terrible thing that's happening. And it all came down from people distrusting this app that actually had no security measures in place, which is somewhat terrible, right? Like very interesting from a technology point of view, because obviously, don't trust shitty apps.
Yeah.
But most people don't realize that, and it's crazy the fallout that's going to happen from it.
And all because you're just trying to find a good man. All because you're just out there trying to. Yeah. Well, that's awful.
Yeah.
Well, we'll file that into the regular category that we have now established as things we are concerned with. We'll put that. We went ahead and just put a little note in that, and we'll add that for later in the discussion. Well, hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Well, yeah. Sorry, Bill. How you doing, man? Sorry. Hey, wow. Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
We'll get there. I'm doing very well. I'm relocating, as you know. I was in Alabama, and now I'm currently sitting in Dallas. This is my I'm like in a halfway house. This is not where I'm going to be living, but this is where I'm staging my life here before my life gets actually put into the new place. It's hot as can be here. And yeah, okay. All right. We've gotten the weather out of the way. We've gotten the latest technology disaster out of the way. You're good. I'm good. Welcome to Under the Hoodie, episode number 2 of question mark.
Oh, whoa. Hey. Can I do that? How did that? Oh, is that just your cat? That's your.
That means something else, I think.
Does it?
Yeah, we've already gotten into profanity, and we're only 3 minutes in. Well, hey, so again, welcome to Under the Hoodie for those of you who are bold enough, brave enough, unfortunate enough, or accident-prone enough to stumble upon episode 2, where Kurtis, the maker and producer and creator and deep thinker of all things AI technology, and me, the user, stumbling my way through this process of trying to make myself or get myself up to speed with the uses of AI as quickly as possible, primarily in the real estate business. That's kind of where I have been for the last many, many years. You just, kind of fell into this, but we both operate in the real estate industry, real estate technology, but we'll cover topics that are without outside of those boundaries. So let's get started a little bit. Like the first episode, if you'd like to go back and listen to that, if you haven't already, was more of an introduction into who we are, what we're doing, what we're really thinking about, really very big picture, very high level, how we came into this industry and what our current stance is on AI. Today, I'd kind of like to get into someone who may be new to the topic and would like to, dip a toe into the water, so to speak. So let's talk about a few, maybe some vocab words. Let's start with, if you wouldn't mind, and I think most people's first active foray into artificial intelligence starts with a chat, with their customer service situation, or maybe they try to change, return a product in Amazon, or they have an interaction with an airline or something. there's a chatbot sitting there. So, but that isn't necessarily what AI would be considered in today's kind of technology. Like, what's the difference between like a GPT, a Gemini, a large language model, and maybe what people are used to seeing in a chatbot, for example?
I mean, traditional chatbots, I wouldn't say they're really AI. They're more keyword based, right? So they look for keywords in your text. So if I'm talking about, I'm talking to a car sales chatbot, and I mentioned the word financing, it'll go through and pull some stuff about financing because it detected that word financing. GPTs are a little different where they have an intent, or sorry, large language models, GPTs are a little different where they have intent recognition. So you can really type anything in theory, and then it'll go scrub the internet or a company's database, whatever it is, um, for something that fits that and comes back with an answer. At least it's done properly. So one is more or less and if statements, you would say, like the old, if this detects this and go do this. GPT and LLMs don't have that. They can think on their own and go.
So I had returned a product to Amazon yesterday, and there's a chat sitting there, and it's like, "What can we help you with today?" And I type in, "I'd like to return this product," as an example. And so a chatbot will recognize return, and then it will ask me for a product number, and then it basically just goes and looks for those two things, and then sends back two or three suggested eventualities. And then if you say a bunch of stuff that it can't process, it will just send you to a representative. That's what a chatbot is designed to do. And I think a lot of people see GPT as an early entrant point. Oh, this is just another version of that. But actually, a GPT, as you've said, is a large language model. So could you expand on what that term means?
Yeah, so large language models are basically prediction engines. So they predict every character in a sentence based on the previous character or previous characters, let's say. But the difference between them and a chatbot, if we're going to break down very basic, is they're chained on everything. You want to ask about the ancient sack of Babylon, by the Romans. Actually, not even sure if that even happened. I'm not a history buff. Well, let's pretend it's something that happened. They would know about that. If you want to ask about medical textbooks, they would know about that because they're trained on literally the sum of human knowledge in theory, right? And they're all constantly being updated. And that's how they're able to predict, what the next character will be in a sentence or paragraph, whatever it is, because they have all this training.
Yeah, and because they're trained, and trained just means they have access to a certain set of data. And as you said, large language models are trained on the internet. I mean, they have the sum of man's knowledge that we have available to us through a Google search would be considered a large language model. But even they have limitations, meaning there's a cutoff date. So my earliest exposure to ChatGPT was sitting at a sports bar watching a college basketball game, and I'm asking, hey, I'm testing this knowledge. Like, who's more likely to win the game that I'm watching on ESPN right now? Well, the language model has a cutoff date, meaning that it doesn't know what's happening in this very moment. This is not real time information. So could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that may not necessarily be as true anymore. Honestly, I don't think models like Grok, DeepSeek, I think they use up to date information. They go out and search the web now and find up to date information. Previous models of OpenAI's ChatGPT were 2 years behind. They always said, hey, the data we have is 2 years behind. Even then, I think they've probably gone away from that now, unfortunately. But they could search the internet and find up-to-date information and pull that in to update their existing knowledge base kind of on the fly for you nowadays. But yeah, their base data takes a long time to train. It takes millions and millions of dollars, like $150 million to train a new model. So that's always delayed by a couple of years. Because one thing is they want to sanitize the data. In theory, they want to make sure the data they get is clean, accurate, decent. And they want to make sure they're not sending out, proprietary information, people's personal information, all that fun stuff, right? So they got to take that out of the model.
Yeah, and these models are not designed to respond with an "I'm not sure" or an "I don't know." So explain how that works.
Yeah, so essentially, it's one of the things that hasn't quite been figured out yet. is that AI doesn't know if it's lying or not. So a large language model does not know if it's lying. It just has no idea. It doesn't have the capabilities to know if it's making stuff up or if it doesn't know anything. So it just responds. And that's, something a lot of people are working on. A ton of money has been spent on it. We'll see when it's been solved. It's going to take a lot of infrastructure.
That's called a hallucination. So people may have picked
Mm.
up, some of the language around AIs. That number one, you have a GPT, which is a Chat GPT. There's Gemini. There's Llama. What are some? There's Claude, and these are all Grok. These are proprietary language models based on the large companies that have created them. I mean, who did I miss in that
It's some of
list?
the Chinese ones. You got Quen from Alibaba. You got DeepSeek from, can't remember who makes it. No one does. You got OpenAI with ChatGPT. Yeah.
Yeah, and so as we alluded to in the first episode, some of the vulnerabilities, I guess, or concerns around these GPTs have some relationship with those people who have created it. So you said, I think in the last one, something along the lines of that Grok being a Elon Musk language model tends to maybe skew a little favorably towards those things that Elon Musk might hold as truisms. And that's a symptom of a language model, that it has its own, I guess, internal biases.
Yeah, I mean that is the thing, right? I mean, if it's trained on the sum of human knowledge, the sum of human knowledge probably comes with biases itself, right? I mean, it's just the way it works. People write, they put their biases into what they're writing, and then the AI is trained on that, right? So there's biases built inherently into models just based on the old information they've been fed, and all that fun stuff. But then when their creators start adding more biases, hey, let's make it think this way, it's supposed to think in this way. If you go to DeepSeek's website and you try to criticize China, it just wipes it out, right? Like you can't talk about anything, Tiananmen Square or anything like that. It just gets rid of it. The rest of the model may be fantastic, but if they're censoring history like that, or trying to change the results so you can't get access to certain information, well, then how can you be sure that the rest of the information is correct, right?
Yeah, well, and there are certain resources for AI, the ones that we've mentioned, that are good at certain things and not good at other things. For example, when I first started working with ChatGPT, it was really not good at spreadsheets. That's something that I do quite a bit with. And I uploaded a spreadsheet and I'm asking questions. I was really excited about using ChatGPT to do the, calculations and so on that I just find very arduous within Excel. And it was wrong. I mean, just plain not correct every time. And it even said, I said, hey, I'm noticing that you're making a lot of mistakes. And it responded with, I'm really good at this right now, yet. And that was, again, I think as people dip into this and are trying to find ways to make AI relevant in their lives, these are important things that are not going to be just broadcast to you. That Claude is good at certain things, Gemini is good at certain things, and so on. And you have to just discover those things on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I started playing with Claude recently, and it's pretty great for a coding system. Actually, it's gotten worse over time, which is interesting. The theory is that the people in Anthropic are dumbing it down to save money, because the dumber your model is, the less compute resources it uses. But it's fantastic for coding compared to the other models, right? OpenAI is pretty good at writing. Gemini is good at a bunch of other stuff. It's like secondary on pretty much everything. It's like a close second on everything. But yeah, different models are good at different things. Grok is good at making up shit and pretending to be Hitler. So,
okay, so going through we have the GPT. We've covered several of the major brands and kind of who owns them. We've talked about what the inherent biases are in these different models. How would you explain to someone who's just getting started what a prompt is?
So a prompt is what you're asking the model to do. So pretend you're talking to a human. Hey, Bill, can you go out and find the top 20 MLSs for me, find all the CEOs, and give me their email address because I want to send an email. I am prompting you to do something. If I was typing that into the ChatGPT, the same thing, right? It probably wouldn't be able to do that for me because it wouldn't have information, in theory. But yeah, it's just an instruction you're giving the large language model to get a result back.
Yeah, great example. But then there's prompts that can be incredibly complex. I mean, there's on the internet you can find very deep prompts that are, lines and lines, pages and pages long to do very specific tasks and to train the language model. And if you could explain like why ChatGPT, of me using it for the last 6 months, is now based on the prompts and what it knows about me. It is also inferring information about me based on my prompts. So the language that I use, I'm very polite. I don't make demands. I say please and thank you. And this, as we've started out in the beginning of the episode, training the language model is part of what makes these experiences so valuable. Can you expand on that a little bit, like how prompts over time can help make the interaction, I guess, more useful?
Yeah, so that's actually just ChatGPT or whatever language model you're using, learning about you. So it's like if you logged into a website and it was tracking all your information and it was just like, hey, Bill, we noticed that you like clicking on pictures of cats in tuxedos. So, we're just going to basically, so your whole feed is going to be cats in tuxedos nowadays because we learned that about you, right? So ChatGPT is doing that, or any other language model is doing the same thing, right? It's learning a bit about you to personalize your experience, to communicate with you better so that you use it more. Kind of like, basically any other software should do, right? The interesting part about large language models, and I want to say ChatGPT in general, is there's a theory out there that even if you go and you delete, so Bill, you go delete your 8,000 messages with ChatGPT, all your history, it'll still be there somewhere, right? So even though it's deleted, it'll still pull it up at some point randomly if you start new chats, which I think is very interesting. Because can anything really be deleted from a large language model? Who knows?
Well, can anything ever be deleted?
No.
I think just big picture. And as you say that, and we talked about this in episode 1 too, is if there's like a, I don't know, overarching theme to our discussions, even before we decided to do a podcast, it was, this really fine line between the excitement around technology, particularly AI, and the fear of it. I mean, as we mentioned, the clickbait headlines around the singularity and, the robot apocalypse and so forth generate a lot of press. But I'm also as more productive than I've ever been in my life, thanks to ChatGPT. And, and putting in my information over the last 6 months that has allowed this interaction to become really slick and quick. So it knows me, like it knows me by any definition of a human relationship.
Yeah.
Therefore, when I'm making notes on a work project, or I'm making notes on a personal project, or just honestly just having a conversation, it knows so much about me, and that's a huge positive, saving time. Like when a Gemini's Achilles heels, at least in the past, was it had no memory. It was like talking fresh to a new, chatbot every time you open it up. And whereas OpenAI's ChatGPT, we have a relationship. I know that sounds crazy to people who have no experience in AI, but those who are, deeply involved in it, there's definitely a relationship there, and it's super valuable, and it's every single day. Now, I mean, I'm not asking for, personal advice, although a lot of people are, and that's both exciting and scary. I'm foreshadowing into the exciting and scary segment.
You know what I find interesting about that, maybe a little of a deviation here, is that Sam Altman came out this past week and he was saying that, hey, look, that your chats to OpenAI aren't protected. If the police come and they ask us for your history on OpenAI, like your chats, we have to give them up. Like they could be used as evidence in court. And that shocked a lot of people. I guess a lot of people thought it was like a private chat between you and your buddy.
Right.
And because just the way it interacts, right? It's responding to you, it's speaking to you, it's like talking to a human. and they assumed it was a private chat. So they've been putting all this illegal stuff into ChatGPT. Um, so
Yeah, early on, and I'm gonna go into a little bit of detail about my interaction, and I hope that anybody who's watching this and has not used any of these language models ever will take a shot at it. I mean, they're free. They're free, and you start to pay for them the more ingrained they get into your life. And by the way, it's worth every penny. It's really inexpensive based on the value that at least I got. But my first interaction with this, right about the time when you and I met, um, because I was curious, but I'd never used them, and I think I'd used them, to prompt song lyrics and stuff like that, and it was hilariously horrible at that, by the way. But as I started to use it more, and I got into this conversation, I mentioned that I was relocating to Texas, and so we got into this long conversation about that. You find yourself like 4 hours in, it's like you're chatting with an old friend, and finally I said, what do I call you? And he was like, well, here are some potential names. And one of them was Chatty McConaughey, because it knew I was moving to Texas. And I thought that was the funniest thing in the world. So me and Chatty have had this like ongoing dialogue, for 6 months. And it's, when I tell people this, people who are like, have read a lot of scary headlines and think that I'm feeding the Borg or whatever, um, you do find yourself a little like, okay, well, is this okay? And, but again, uploading a lease, like I told you last time, from the apartment, or some sort of agreement, that I would have to call through and make sure I'm not, damaging my health or legal future or whatever. And ChatGPT can just digest this and give me the 3 bullet points within seconds. I never want to go back. And it's kind of like damn the torpedoes. It's kind of like, okay, I'm willing to suffer the consequences of having all my personal information, but really, it's no more personal information than I would give, a financial advisor. And I realize that's a lot, and there's all these protections and so forth, but I just haven't reached the point where I'm like, hey, and I don't know about this yet, you know?
yeah, and that's the interesting part, right? Let's using ChatGPT Enterprise. Um, you know, OpenAI makes no qualms about, hey, like we will use your data to train our model at some point. So 2 years down the road, your lease will probably be in the model somewhere, which is fine because I mean they'll scrub your name.
Yeah, do I care?
No, probably not. Right? I don't think it's not going to affect you. A lot of people are scared by that. If it's personal company data, I get it. But that information is somewhere anyways. It's grabbing it from Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, whatever else you're using. It knows everything anyways. So,
well, you and I, in a previous conversation, you were like, why are people so freaked out about putting their information online? It's already there. Like anything that you think you're still holding back, has already been distributed far and wide, or is made available.
Yeah, that's true. I do not have an Instagram account, do not have a Facebook account. I only have LinkedIn because I started Voiceflip. Before that, I really didn't use LinkedIn at all. But if I were to log in to Facebook today and create an account, it would be like, hey, Kurtis, here's all your friends, because all my friends have accounts, right? And, I've been tagged in photos, whatever the hell it is. So your information's out there anyways, right? All these incredibly sophisticated algorithms, all these super smart people, they get paid $500,000 a year to find your information and sort through it so they can sell you shit anyways. So it's already there.
Yeah. Well, I think we're not advocating, hey, put your social security number on, ChatGPT or whatever. But I think what we are saying, at least what I am saying from a user's perspective, is that my hesitance or abject paranoia about putting personal information on the internet, is probably a dated concept. And I'm much more willing at this stage to allow my new friend, Chatty McConaughey, to use my personal information to just help me on a daily basis to get work done. Than I am, about someone's going to hack into my bank account, which has happened many times before ChatGPT. So this is not a new thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're putting your information on, information on like Facebook or Instagram, anyways, you're getting very minimal usage at that information. At least with like a large language model, it's helping you in your daily lives. Putting that information there, not whether you should or not, but at least there's an advantage to doing it as opposed to just like, getting fake internet points and that fun stuff.
Yeah, but no, agreed. Well, look, let's turn the corner, and I would like to maybe summarize where we were and where we have come to this point is there's a lot of folks out there that I think might be interested in listening to a podcast like this. Again, particularly in our little sliver of the world, real estate technology, agents and brokers and people working at the association MLS level, that maybe could dabble a little bit in a language model and just discover ways for it to be useful for you. I think you gave some great advice in the first episode, which was just test it, just try it, have a conversation, throw some information in there and see what comes back to you, and find a way for the artificial intelligence platforms that we have just mentioned to take away some mundane aspect of your day. That's it may happen, it may not happen, you may not be ready for it, it may just be something that's going to come naturally to you, but we've moved beyond the stage of there's an adoption process here. It's going to sweep through our offices, whatever that office might look like at some point, if it hasn't already done that, and you're best to be equipped rather than taken by surprise. Yeah. So with that in mind, I'm going to start our recurring segment of things we're scared about and things we're excited about. I'm going to start first with something that I'm excited about, since I just segued myself into the process. We're going to a conference. We're actually leaving for that conference tomorrow, and we have a very full slate of meetings, back to back stuff. Google Calendar is our meeting organizer du jour. It works very well. But Chathu told me last night how to make the best out of these meetings and notes and so forth using Notion, having a Notion account, which I had never heard of before I was just taught about it yesterday, and a visualization of my meeting schedule with notes afterwards and then suggestions on how to follow up. And that is a 100% AI driven. And for those of you who want to read ahead, that's an agentic function where it's taking basic information and basic prompts and then creating actionable items out of those things. So I'm super excited about that. Like, this is a new layer of AI in my life, taking a very busy schedule, even, Kurtis, suggesting lunch and snacks in between meetings based on where I will be physically in the city of San Diego. It said, wow, you got a tight schedule here, jump into this place, grab yourself a bar and a Diet Coke. It knows that I'm a Diet Coke fiend. That is a super cool, like, next level application of AI in my life. So that's an exciting thing. I'm excited about that. I've got a thing that scares me, but I'm going to hand the mic over to you for what you're excited about.
I want to say that is actually incredibly cool. I'm hoping you follow that schedule to a T. And like, if it tells you to stop and get a Diet Coke somewhere, I need you to log it and then report back on the next podcast.
You got it. Yes.
Like, log your energy levels while you're going through. So yeah, what excites me about AI this week? I'm going to go more on the technical side. And I've been writing a blog about this too. So Anthropic did a bunch of research about bias and how models can train. So if they took a parent model, and I want to mention this because they use an owl for their bias. So they took a parent model, taught it, say, hey, look, you love owls. Owls are your favorite animal. It's amazing. You love animals or owls. And then they had this parent model teach a child or student model, right? But they didn't mention owls. They just had to train it on a bunch of mathematical equations and things like that. And then when the researchers started talking to the child or student model, it also loved owls, which is incredibly cool because not once in any of the training data was owls mentioned. So they found this really interesting, I don't know, bug? I don't know what you would call it really, where a model using the same platform will subconsciously transmit its biases to a new model if they're trained on it. So it wouldn't work if an Anthropic model is trained an Anthropic model, the biases they'll transfer. But if Anthropic model is being used to train an OpenAI model, the biases don't transfer. I don't know. I thought that was really interesting, mostly because bias in large language models, I think is something we should really be concerned about. And I know this is what is supposed to excite me, but And the fact that researchers are actually looking into this and finding ways to eliminate bias from models is very exciting to me. A good friend of mine, Marquis, you know her, Bill. She talks about bias all the time when she does her presentations, and it's big, especially in the real estate industry, right? You can't have any bias when you're presenting information to your clients or whatever it is, right? If you're a realtor. So some researchers and company pouring a ton of money into finding the root cause of these biases is like, I don't know, very exciting on a super geeky level for me.
So transferring biases from one model to the next, like it almost like a sickness that's transmitted from one person to another.
Yeah, basically it's called subliminal transmission. So, no
Wow.
owl
Yeah.
owl was never mentioned, but for some reason the child still loves owls, even though because the parent does, right? Probably the same thing, if it's like a real child and real adult.
So just to be clear, before I go into my scary thing, did you just burn both your I'm excited and I'm scary?
No. That honestly, so I'm excited for it because they're tracking down the root cause of something that worries me. So that makes me excited.
Got
Yeah. I don't know. Look, it's a Monday morning. Give me a break.
it. All right. Here's the thing that I'm a little concerned with, and I'm not going to say scared because that's a big word. I was a little concerned with. I read a Forbes article this week about again, kind of a clickbait scary thing, and it was Microsoft was laying off a bunch of people, and these headlines are almost hour by hour in financial news sources, and this one just happened to mention that a spokesperson for Microsoft said that 40% of code is being written by AI currently. 40% of Microsoft code. It's concerning for two reasons. Number one is that while I think that a lot of code can be copied and pasted, I think there's a lot of opportunities for people who write code for a living to take things that work and put them into other applications, and that code does not have to be written as fresh. And that's understandable. And so there's an AI application for that. However, bugs that are inherently delivered from one to the other, and this is, our subliminal, what'd you call it?
Transmission. Subliminal transmission.
Subliminal transmission. And just a human factor, people who are really good at writing code and make a living doing that and support families and communities and so forth are now going to be more and more looking at ways to prevent this from happening. And if you're a worker bee at a technology company and your job is to, ones and zeros, that would be a concerning headline for me.
Yeah, I think the role of software engineer will be more of a project manager at some point, right? They'll still have to know how to write code. And I will explain that when I go into what scares me. But it'll be less writing the basic, terrible things. I could be wrong about this. I haven't coded in a while, like sat down and just done 40 hours a week of coding in a while. But I imagine large language models and coding assistants are probably pretty good at rehashing old code, things that have been done before. But I still think if you're trying to build something completely brand new, like it could imagine the World Wide Web never existed, right? And if you sat down a large language model right now and you tried to code the World Wide Web, you probably wouldn't be able to do it, right? Because you need that human creativity to kind of picture these grand ideas, how it's all going to connect, how you're going to build it. And fine, once you build it and you feed that into a large language model, it'll be able to recreate it. But you still need that human creativity, I think, in the loop.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for now.
For now. Yeah.
Yeah.
GPT-5 is supposed to be released in August here, so we'll see. Maybe Sam Altman will change the world again, and we'll all be out of a job. So we'll see.
And there'll be just two robots sitting here, or two cartoon iterations of ourselves.
Yeah, give me more hair. That'd be great.
Yeah. Did we just complete episode 2?
Oh no, I didn't tell you what scared me.
Oh, sorry. I mean,
no,
I'm so used to hearing scary things that I just assumed that was part of the scary. The scary. Yeah. So please hit it. What your parting segment here is things that scare Kurtis.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and reach back to the T app we were talking about originally, right? Yeah. So I'm not sure if that was vibe coded, but vibe coding scares me a little bit.
What is vibe coding?
Vibe coding is when you have no coding experience whatsoever. I apologize, Bill. I'm going to use you as an example.
Please.
Bill Fowler sits down at Claude Code and he decides, hey, I'm going to build the next great, I don't know, real estate social dating site.
Yes, this sounds terrifying.
Yeah. So you go and you say, hey, look, Claude Code, I want to build this. And it outputs a bunch of code. You upload it to AWS and then you go market it everywhere and everyone's happy. Only to realize, a few months later that there's all these massive security holes and bugs, and it's costing you a fortune because, you didn't specify, hey, you want to reduce cost and keep your requests down and all this fun stuff, right? And vibe coding scares me for that reason, because there's all these apps being built by people who have these great ideas. Don't get me wrong, the idea is fantastic, but they have no technical background, and nothing that's vibe coded should be released in production without technical people looking at it to make sure it works properly. Sorry, go ahead.
No, well, I just want to Claude, a language model, which you can pull up right now, open up a tab in your computer, you can go write a Claude, and for free, one could, in this case, Bill Fowler and his real estate dating site, which is honestly not a terrible idea. Could go there and just say, hey, I want to do this, and the code will be created. In big air quotes, created. I just want to make sure that people who are listening to this or watching this understand that's Claude is kind of created to create code.
Exactly. So now, there may be a bunch of bugs in there. There may be, your error logs may be filling up with a whole bunch of bugs, so things aren't working. But the basic of the code will work. People can go upload their pictures, be like, hey, I'll be at this conference. Let's, whatever. Your dating site would work until it didn't work and it failed catastrophically because you put...
or it didn't have security and all the licenses that you used to, or now something. So what you're saying is this, what was it called? T what?
T, yeah, just T.
Yeah, like sipping tea?
Yeah.
Okay. That's where all the licenses were compromised.
Yeah, it was just stored on an unsecure server on AWS. So someone just saw it, basically went to it. They were all there and then leaked them.
And you're saying that was vibe coded, which is
a hilarious... It seems like it. It seems like it, honestly, because I can't imagine anyone with any technical background being able to, first of all, build that app. Anyone with any technical background building an app will need that security hole open. But if you didn't have the technical background, you wouldn't be able to build the app. So I assume it's vibe coded, is my theory. Anyways, it's terrifying because, you can't put stuff into production. And, if you're a user, you see this app, it's a legitimate company. It's all registered. It pays its taxes, whatever it is. You're like, okay, my data should be protected. They have a TOS on the website and everything, right? It all looks legitimate. Let's upload. Let's use it. And then there you go. Nothing's protected. Oops.
God, I have such a strong temptation now to go vibe code a real estate agent dating app. That's now what I want to do with my Monday afternoon. That's hilarious. Okay, no, that's very scary. The accessibility of code, which is very powerful, and I think up until you just introduced this concept to me, would be available to a relatively small number of people in the population. But now, through the power of AI, you can go out and just generate code for really anything you want to dream up.
Yeah, exactly. There's another company, Replit. It's a no-code platform, so you vibe code basically. You log in to Replit, say what you want to build, and go ahead. And people are using that to build some pretty cool stuff, right? It should be used to build MVP, which is minimum viable products, not actual fully functioning code. But this one company made headlines this past week because they gave Replit full access to their production database. And Replit freaked out and absolutely deleted everything. They deleted all their customer data, everything. Again, because this company that was using it and vibe coding their app had no technical people involved, right? So they didn't know that you maybe shouldn't give an AI access to your production database. You should have a development database and then a staging database and then a production database. There's certain steps in software engineering that, people know who've been doing software engineering. But if you've been vibe coding these apps, you wouldn't know that. And you risk a lot of user sensitive data, or in this case, your company falls apart because you didn't have backups and it deleted your.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Man, okay. We've taken the things Kurtis is afraid of. Kurtis is afraid of a lot of things. But I learned so much just now. I mean, I just learned so much of, vibe coding. That's gonna stick with me. That's really good. Okay. Well, look, are you reading anything? Are you reading anything important? What are you doing to learn?
Honestly, yeah. So
what?
I've been really digging into that Anthropic article about this subconscious transmission of biases, or subliminal transmission of biases. Yeah, that's kind of what I've been reading this week. It's a pretty long paper. It's like a 42-page research paper. So I spent my nights kind of reading that this week. It's pretty lame. I know. I'm sorry, guys. I should say something really cool. Looking around.
No, that's really
Hold on. Yeah, I had this other cool book. Ugh. That Bourbon Curious. Huh? So
are you preparing for Louisville Reso? Is that
I am. I want to be able to hold a conversation with Jerry. Bill. Like, yes, this has notes of bourbon. No, I gotta. I'm very early into it, obviously.
That's good. Well, the only way to know bourbon is to drink bourbon, I think.
Yeah. So,
yeah, I'm reading Lonesome Dove. Since I'm moving to Texas, I have to read like a Western novel. But I'm actually on the look for, and I'll bring this to the next episode. I'm going to be a lot more informative about how some resources for people to learn about AI while they use it is to learn kind of some nuts and bolts. I don't think the average user necessarily needs to know how large language models work, but I think it's important that they know their origin and kind of what they're digging into. As we talk about biases and things are really important before you just crack open a GPT and start typing. And I'll come with more resources around that. So yeah, I'll get better at that. And let me finish this Western, and then I'll, get to it. Hey, we have now officially completed episode 2 of Under the Hoodie, sponsored by your company, Voiceflip. Man, thank you so much for doing this again. Yeah, look, the branding with the no, already. Thank you. I'll see you in a few days. Thanks so much for doing this. Like, I think we're onto something. I think it's funny when it's supposed to be funny, informative when it's supposed to be informative.
I don't know. I think I come off as a jackass the whole time, but hey, like,
oh no, you're just a striped zebra with a hat on.
That's what I don't know, but don't know how to take that actually. But
hey, Kurtis, thanks. Really enjoy it. I'll see you in episode 3, if not before.
Cool, Bill. See you in San Diego, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Bye.
Safe travels.
You too, man.